Boo! All right. The first podcast of postseason and recruiting season. Now, as promised, I made one of these every single week during the summer. And I told you guys this, I plan to make one probably every week during the off season, recruiting season. I should never say the word off season. Probably every week of recruiting season, as long as people actually listen to them. So thank you guys for tuning in. It means a lot. And I think this will be the most important, or at least the most income producing podcast that I do all year. And so I hope that you guys will tune in. I hope you'll take it serious. I hope you'll listen. I hope you'll apply what I talk about. I'm going to talk about the topic that I'm probably behind real estate the most passionate about when it comes to kind of my career and my financial journey and especially my time here at Aptive, and that is recruiting. And so I have 6 or 7 well thought out points that I want to talk about that will effectively teach all of us what this recruiting season is going to take and how we can level up as recruiters, how we can build, how we can grow a downline, and also why you should want that. And so it's 6 or 7 bullet points. My goal is to finish this in about 20 minutes. I don't know if that's going to be possible because I tend to get long-winded, but that's the goal. And I'll do more of these. Again, I'm going to do one every week. And so every week I'll share more about this and I'll expand on this topic and build off of it. But this first kind of 7-step boot camp is going to really get us started and kickstart us and help us grow for the future. So I'm proud of all of you. As I look back to when we did the kickoff event back in, I think it was the very end of February, I knew how much work this summer would be. I knew how much sacrifice it would take. I knew how much energy and effort and everything in between it would require from every single one of us. And I want to be the first to say, I'm honored to have shared the selling field with all of you. I'm proud of all of our efforts. I'm grateful for your trust. I'm grateful for your sacrifice. I know firsthand just how hard this job is, even as a second-year rep, third-year rep, fourth-year rep, 10th-year rep, but especially as a first-year sales rep. So thank you for trusting in us. Thank you for working hard alongside the rest of us. I'm proud of all of you guys, and I'm extremely excited for the future. If you're still out selling right now, shout out to you. You are bold, you are brave, you're making it happen, and you're capitalizing on the opportunity. So this training is going to mean even more to you because you're the type of person who capitalizes. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And with all that said, I am going to dive in. So first, I want to talk briefly about the why behind recruiting. And I've explained this a dozen different times in the different podcasts, so some of it will be review, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into it and explain kind of the mentality, the vision, what it looks like, everything else. And so why should you recruit? Okay, that's a similar question as to why should you sell? You should sell because your time is worth more than a fixed dollar amount. I mean, even if you're making 30, 40, 50, $100 an hour, which is almost unheard of. You have to be a real professional at something or have some kind of doctorate degree to make $100 an hour. But even if you're making that kind of money, I know sales guys who make more than that. And so when you learn the art of the sale, when you learn the ability to persuade and negotiate and add value and increase emotion and all these different things that you learn in sales, your time suddenly isn't just worth $25 an hour. Your time might be worth $1,000 1 hour. And definitely along the way, you're going to have some hours where it's not worth much because you're learning and you're growing. But all of a sudden, you're not trading time for money anymore. You're trading effort for money. You're trading skill and ability for money, but those things are all scalable. Now, recruiting is in that same vein, but it's a step beyond. And so when you recruit, and then I'm going to include in recruiting when you lead, when you manage, when you train, all of a sudden you're multiplying your time. Because let's face it, guys, even if you get to Alex Moises sales level, even if you get to Jake West or Brigham Lindsay, some of the guys that I consider the very best sales level, they're still in a roundabout way trading effort for income. Okay, they got to go out and knock the doors in order to make money. The sales don't come to them. Okay, Jake has to go knock the door. Alex has to get out of his car, drive to area, do all these different, it's an effort-based, and you're limited in this effort-based production by time. There's only 24 hours a day. There's only 16 hours that are light. There's only, 6 days, 7 days a week. There's only 100 days over the summer. Even if you knock year round, okay, you're limited by time. When you learn to recruit, when you learn to lead, when you learn to train and manage, your time, your effort, your energy is multiplied. Okay. Now look at our partnership, and this is a macro scale, but look at our partnership. Our partnership will do over $30 million in sales this year. Now, no matter how good I am at this job, which I'm just okay, but no matter how good I am at this job, there is no chance that I could do that on my own. It would take me a lifetime. I don't even think over the course of my whole life, I could sell $30 million in pest control. It would be incredibly difficult. That would be $500,000 a year for the next 60 years, which who knows if I'll be around that long. That's kind of a weird thought, but it's impossible. Now, could I recruit that much on an individual level? That's also going to be hard. It's also going to be really difficult because $30 million in revenue is going to require at a minimum a couple hundred sales reps. I can't train a couple hundred sales reps. There's just not enough time. There's not enough. It's impossible. And so I need regionals. I need divisionals. I need team leaders. I need recruiters. I need first year sales reps and second year sales reps and this whole big organization to be able to do $30 million in sales. So you can see already recruiting multiplies your efforts. It multiplies your time. Now, when you look at it in the most kind of boiled down version, its most simplest form, recruiting is influencing someone you care about, someone you want to see do well, someone you believe could do well, someone you think will add to the team's culture. It's influencing them to try the same thing that has blessed and benefited and helped your life, that has made such a positive impact on you. You should never recruit someone to something you don't believe in. And that's why it's easy for me to recruit to Aptiv, because I really believe in what we do. I love it. It changed my life. It gave my brothers the ability to buy real estate. The whole Myers family dynamic is totally different now than it was 12 years ago. We are not, everything is different. And it's because of this job. And so when I share that story, when I share that energy around recruiting, it transfers and it works. So believe in what you're doing. When you boil it down, it's influencing someone to come out and try and have a similar experience and hopefully even a better one to the one that you had. Okay, so that's all it is. And it allows you to multiply your time, multiply your talents, multiply everything that you do. And guys, you get paid once for selling, okay? You get paid once. And if you sell a 2-year agreement, you're going to get some multi-year residuals. But even at that, you might be getting paid twice on these accounts, which is awesome. So cool. But recruiting is more like buying real estate, where if you buy a cash flowing property, it will pay you forever. If you develop a profitable win-win relationship and you build a downline and you have this awesome network and you grow with your downline, that can pay you year after year after year after year. And I want to be very clear when I say this. Aptiv is in no way a multi-level marketing kind of campaign. That's not what it is. And one of my bullet points is you only get paid for the value you add. And we'll talk about that more in the future. But the recruiting that you do right now can pay you forever. Okay. And that's incredible. I look at, Jeff Hatch, who's been here with me for 10 years, Colby Markowski, who's been here with me almost 10 years. Those relationships have been incredible. And it's been so amazing for me, obviously. But I hope and I believe in, because they keep coming back, it's obviously been an incredible thing for those guys as well. I look at the McKenna Halls, the Mark Wilmores, the Aidens, the Chase Flynn's, Andrew, Ryan, all these guys that keep coming back. It's because it's a win-win. And I'm winning because, I'm one of their recruiters or whatever. I'm in their upline, but they're also winning because they feel like I help. They feel like I push. They feel like the team culture, the synergy is helping them get to where they want to be. And so recruiting is the truest, done correctly. I should always clarify that, which we try and do it correctly. And I think we're the best at it in the world. But done correctly, it is one of the truest win-win and best possible things that you can ever do. It's incredible. It's amazing. I love it. And so I'll talk more about it. But the sales you make this summer or next summer, they pay you once, maybe twice if they're a multi-year. Recruiting can pay you forever. And simply because of that, you should take it seriously and you should dive in with both feet. Now, I'm going to give some practical advice here. I'm sure I'm going to go off on other tangents. It's really hard for me to stay on the same thought path. So hopefully you guys follow along with me. But I'm going to give some practical advice. Okay, tip number 1, and you're going to hear this a lot. Recruiting is all about who you know. It's really hard to recruit if you don't know anyone. And so Who do you know right now? Okay, pause this video if you need to. You're gonna get this a lot all off season. Build a 100 names list. And literally just list off 100 people that you know. And I want you to write this down or type it into a Google Sheet. Google Sheet's probably even better. It's free. If you don't know how to use Google Sheets, learn. It's incredible. Ask ChatGPT. But type in 100 names. These can be cousins. These can be mission companions, guys you know from high school, girls you dated once upon a time, cousins, siblings, people from your church group. This can be people who you met at a concert, people who you played on a sports team with. It can be anything. Okay, if you need help, go through Instagram and list out 100 people. And if you can do more than 100, even better. If you're like, man, there's no way I'm getting to 100, start with 20. Okay, start with 50. Do whatever you can do, but build out this list. After you've built out the list, I want you to categorize, and I use a highlighter, okay? And I highlight light green, the ones who I'm like, they would be really, really good at this job. And so you want to prioritize your top tier candidates. And out of that 100, maybe highlight 25, maybe highlight 50, whatever you think, but highlight a certain percentage of them. Say, these are the people who I think would be phenomenal at this, okay? From there, we're going to work on contacting them. But the first step is build out that list. Now, if you've never done this before, it's quite the exercise. It's kind of fascinating how many people you really know and how many people you can really influence. And as you're writing out this list, some of them right off the bat, you're like, they'll never do this. And that's totally okay. It's just an exercise to get the juices flowing and get some momentum. And we're going to talk a little bit later on about the strategy of actually contacting these people. But the first step is to build out that list. I have a second thought on this kind of introductory intro to recruiting, I guess, thought that I'm on right now. So build the 100 names list. Another methodology, another similar kind of strategy or a saying that I've said over the years a lot of recruiters use is you're never just buying bananas. Okay? You go to the grocery store, the teller who's checking you out at the grocery store, you meet them, they're friendly, they're personable, they're cool, they're charismatic. You're not just there buying bananas. You're a recruiter. That's your job. That's your income stream. That's your opportunity. You can theoretically recruit this person. The waiter that you meet at a restaurant, you could recruit that person. The car salesman you buy your car from, you could recruit that person. Your sister's boyfriend that she brings home from college, it's a potential recruit. You're never just buying bananas. Mitch Fry, who's become one of my very best friends over the last couple of years, is the best example of this to me. Every restaurant I've been to with him, he attempts to recruit the waiter. And guys, you ask him how it's worked out over the years, Mitch has made tens of thousands of dollars from waiters that he's recruited at restaurants. He's probably paid for his entire lifetime supply of food by the waiters that he's recruited at restaurants. It's incredible. I look at some of the recruits that I've gotten over the years, and they've been such weird, funky connections and relationships. One of my favorite stories, I'm flying home from my first summer selling. So flying from LA to Idaho Falls, I sit next to a kid named Weston Kilpack, who's flying home from his mission. Okay, I've never met Weston before, but he's a missionary. And we start chopping it up, and he comes and sits by me when we're on the plane, and we're chopping it up, and he's asking me what I do, and I'm telling him, I've been out selling this summer, and da-da-da-da-da, and conversation's going good. And I'm like, well, dude, we should chat once you're home and a little settled in, and job's been incredible. And he's like, yeah, that'd be really interesting. Weston comes out and does 200 accounts his first summer. Weston's second summer, guess who he recruits? Colby Markowski. That whole downline came from a conversation that happened between me and Weston on a plane. There's a million other events that had to happen. In fact, Colby has a similar story kind of with recruiting with Weston. But you're never just buying bananas. Had I been scared to mention it to Weston, had I not talked to him about what I'd done, had I not been bought into the opportunity, that never would have happened, and we'd be missing the 3-time Triple Cup active champions. Adam Tillman, I know for a fact, got recruited because of this same methodology. Ryan, the top rookie this year, got recruited because he knew Adam from time in San Diego. You're never just buying bananas. And I keep a note on my phone of people who I've met that I should recruit. And I've built this brand, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in the future too. But I've built this brand where immediately I'm like, hey, we should connect on Instagram. All of a sudden I have that connection. It's not awkward. It's not weird, but I can follow up and kind of almost trickle campaign them so that eventually they become recruits. And sometimes it takes years. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 recruits that I've known them for 5 years before they finally came around to the idea. Sometimes it takes time, but you're never just buying bananas. Mindset, okay? Be planted and be positive. So I mentioned that story with Weston and how he came out and, we talked on the plane. And guys, if I had been waffling about my commitment, if I had been halfway in, halfway out, Weston never would have agreed to meet with me. He wouldn't have wanted to come to Aptiv, okay? He chose Aptiv because I was all in here. Because I believed and I talked highly about the experience and I loved what I did and I raved about the group, and it just made it a no-brainer for him. There's 100 different door-to-door companies out there. These people, a lot of them, it'll be the first they ever hear of it. But if you're in Utah, Idaho, Arizona, and really anywhere else, they're getting bombarded by insurance salesmen and security and solar and other pest companies and multi-level marketing schemes. I've seen a gold sales one going around on Instagram. They're getting bombarded. Okay. And if you're waffling and half in, half out on your commitment, they're not going to be that interested. And so my number one tip to recruiters is be all in. Plant your recruits, grow, build. It is the best thing I ever did. I'm 12 years deep, and internally, I've waffled a few times. Man, I'm freaking 34. I get to 28 and I'm like, golly, I got to go out and sell again. I got 2 kids and 1 on the way. And do I really want to do this? And it's hard on my wife. And, my mind's turning and I'm like, do I want to do this? But my outward self, golly, I'm always all in because I'm a recruiter. That's what I do. So anytime I talk to someone about it, I'm like, oh, it's the best thing ever. And I love it. And it's amazing. And it's all true. Okay. Be a recruiter. I've seen people lose out on tens of thousands of dollars in potential commissions and earnings because they were halfway in, halfway out on the job. And in fact, one of my favorite stories, and I might butcher this story a little bit, but we had a recruit here named Hiram, one of my favorite people ever. And Hiram actually could have recruited Aubert, the top salesman that did $1.1 million last year, had he been just a little bit more bought in. But Hiram was kind of half in and half out. And so then Aubert contacted another buddy and went and sold with Sky instead of Hiram. Hiram had the first chance, but he missed it because he was halfway in, halfway out. And so if I ever do a recruiting meeting with you, that's one of the things that I harp on the very most. Hey, you can consider the future. You can try and make adjustments. You can look at other things. All these other options are out there. But you are going to earn the most money, grow the most, benefit the most by being all in here. That's what recruiting is. Anytime someone asks me, how was your summer? I'm like, it was amazing. And that's what you guys need to do as well as you go into recruiting, as you meet people, as you go back to college, as you go home to your hometown, as you go to family reunions. Be all in about the opportunity, and organically, the conversation is going to go, man, well, if it was so good for him, maybe I ought to check it out. Seems good. If you sit and complain about it and you're like, oh my gosh, it was horrible. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I hated it. It was miserable. I hated selling in Texas. My team lead was annoying. And then all of a sudden, a month later, you're like, man, the money was pretty good. I should do that again. And you go back to those same people and you're like, hey, you should come out with me. They're going to remember. They're going to say, but you hated it. Well, I did hate it, but I made good money. And, now that I've calmed down a little bit and some of the burnout has worn off, it actually was a lot of fun. That's going to impact them, and you're going to miss out on opportunities. So be all in. People are drawn to excitement, and the confidence and the energy around it is incredibly contagious, and that will help you recruit at a very, very high level. Now, some more practical advice, and this is, I'm gonna claim this. I invented this strategy of recruiting. I think. Maybe I didn't, but I've been saying it so long that it feels like I invented it. I genuinely think I did. I call it the ABCs. Okay? There's 3 people or 3 types or 3 steps in the recruiting process. ABC. Amigo, business, close. It's really hard, especially if you're a new sales rep, for you to be all 3 pieces in that puzzle. Okay, you've got your 100 names list, you're contacting them. It's really hard for you to be the friend, get them in the door, explain the job opportunity to them, speak positively, answer questions, and close them and get them to make a decision on it. It's really hard. So those are the 3 steps. Amigo, which is essentially the guy that gets them in the door, the friend, the introducer, the person who says, hey, you should think about this opportunity. The business, okay, that's usually the meeting setting where the team leader, the divisional manager, the person helping you recruit sits down in a meeting and says, hey, here's how the job works, here's the schedule, here's the upside, here's how the pay works, here's the requirements. I think you could be a good fit for it. Here's the training, answers all the questions, and then you've got the closer. And oftentimes the closer is it can be the same person that does the business. Sits down and says, do you think this is something you'd be interested in? Does this seem like something that you might want to try? Does this seem like a good idea to you? Okay. Amigo, business, closing. And so you first year sales reps that are just finishing your first summer, your only job for the next few months, as you learn especially, is just to be the amigo. It's just to get people in the door. So when you're going through your 100 names list, when you're out at the store and you're not just buying bananas, you're remembering that I'm a recruiter. Your only job is to get them in a meeting. And then your team leader, your divisional manager, me, one of the regionals, whoever it is, you get them into a meeting and all of a sudden we are able to do the business and do the close. Guys, the hardest part by far is simply getting them in the door. The job sells itself if we can get them in the door. I think we probably sign like 60 to 70% of people that we even meet with. So all you have to do is get people in the door. Amigo, business, closer. Now, I want to talk about the next step beyond ABC, and that's kind of the recruiting structure, the tree, if you will, how it all works. And so, guys, if I could, I would love to do every single rookie meeting and personally hold the hand of every single rookie that we have and train them and get them out there and, build the empire. I would love to do that. It would be awesome. But logistically, it's impossible. And when I talked up front about multiplying your time, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I don't think it's really possible for any one recruiter to effectively manage more than 15 guys. I just don't. Because the time it takes, the energy it takes, the mental bandwidth it takes is impossible. And so when you guys, as the amigo, are bringing people in, okay, and you're getting people in the door, an equal and perhaps even more important part of this whole process is you staying by them and following up and keeping them engaged and keeping them excited and keeping them interested and talking about the job and bringing it back up and all these different things. Because if you get them in the door with Mark Wilmore and Mark just crushes this meeting and the guy's interested and he walks out of the office and he's like, yeah, I'm 8 out of 10 in. Mark has 7 other meetings that day and 30 other meetings that week. And it is impossible for Mark to remember, oh my gosh, I got to call Johnny, who Aiden set me up with. It's impossible because Mark's met with 40 other people this week. Okay? If you bring him in the door with McKenna Halls and McKenna crushes the meeting and, the guy's pumped and he's thinking about doing it, but he's got to talk to his wife and, he goes home and he doesn't hear from McKenna because she's busy. And McKenna doesn't actually know this person more than an hour-long meeting. And all of a sudden, Johnny, this fake recruit that we're trying to get, doesn't hear about Aptiv for 10 days because we forget to follow up because the amigo's not sticking along with them. The fire dies. It's just like getting a sale and then waiting a week and a half to try and get them serviced. It's not going to work. And so part of this recruiting structure, recruiting triage, is you staying in contact with this person through the whole process. And it doesn't need to be constant conversations about Aptiv. In fact, it's better if it's not. Build an organic, true, real, relationship with this person. I used to play iPhone games with guys. Okay, I used to go to the gym with guys. There's this one kid named Spencer Withrich that I recruited my 3rd summer, and it was a 6-month recruiting process because he had been burned by another company and he didn't want to do it. And I met with him and I got him excited and then, not really into it. And then Chandler met with him and got him excited and not really into it. And all along, I'm taking him to the gym. We're hanging out on weekends. I'm inviting him anytime I do something. And sure enough, after like 6 months, he gets excited about it. And Spencer turns into a 2,000 account downline. And it was one of the most incredible things in relationships and friendships I've ever had. It was awesome. And it all happened because I stuck with him along the way. Guys, the best recruiters, the best team leaders, the best downlines are those who build real, authentic, organic relationships along the way. Okay. I look at Mark Wilmore. Mark is an incredibly gifted recruiter because he can keep, man, just relationship after relationship after relationship. It's because every time he's in the car, he's calling somebody to say hey and check in with them. 90% of the time, it's not even about Aptiv. When he's uh, laying down at night, he's playing iPhone games with 5 different guys. When he's scrolling through Instagram, on the toilet, scrolling through Instagram, he's DMing 4 different guys and swiping up on their story and congratulating them on whatever it is that's going on in their lives because it's all about the network. It's all about the relationships. That's all recruiting is. And so you as the amigo, you get these people in the door. Your team leader does the business meeting. It's awesome. You got to follow up with them and stick with them. And even after they're closed, that becomes increasingly important. Okay. Increasingly important. It doesn't matter if we sign someone if they don't show up and produce. Doesn't matter. Doesn't help us out at all. So stay anxiously engaged. And then the second kind of part to this little section that I have here is structure it the correct way. So if Adam Tillman is your team leader, go to Adam about the business meeting first. Don't go directly to myself or Colby. I mean, we're always going to say yes, but Adam's going to need to have a relationship with this person and give Adam the chance to build that relationship. If Tim is your team leader, okay? Tim recruited you, brought you out. You had an amazing experience. Go to Tim for the business relationship. And Tim is at the very minimum going to talk to this person and then help you with the follow-up, help you set up the future meetings, help you get in contact with Aiden, with Mark, with myself, so that we can help with the closing and all these different things. If you come straight to me or straight to your regional, we're always going to say yes because we love helping and we believe in it. But we don't have the bandwidth to do 10 meetings with this person. And it also kind of takes away our frame a little bit. All of you should read the book, Pitch Anything. Okay. And when someone comes right to me for a first meeting, I'm just explaining the pay scale and answering questions the same as you would. And I'm happy to do it. But then all of a sudden, when they don't sign, it's like, well, where do we go from here? They already met the partner. Like, I guess I can have them, it's like it gets. So it's better if it kind of builds up pressure and builds up steam. And hopefully that makes sense. It's an easy concept, a little bit difficult to explain. I'm probably not giving it the justice that it deserves, but it's better if it kind of goes in scale. So go to your team leader, go to your divisional, go to your regional. That should be kind of the structure of the organization. And not only is that going to be the most efficient and effective, but that will help have those key dynamic and core relationships all along the way. And certainly if you're like, hey, this is a big fish, like I got to get them in the door right off the bat with the honcho, add everyone to a group chat. Let's talk about it and let's strategize and figure it all out. We're always going to say, yes, we want to win, but that structure, that correct tree, that correct format is going to be the most effective and efficient. Okay, you want them to get sold, you want them to get serviced. All these things are going to help. And certainly along the way, don't forget that your most important job is to follow up and remind them. And that's ironically my very next point that I was going to go over. Follow up is where the gold is. Okay, most people, especially the really good recruits, most people don't just say yes right off the rip. It takes time. It takes meetings. Okay. And if they do say yes right off the rip, that doesn't mean that they're going to show up and sell. It means that they are excited about the opportunity and willing to say yes. But it also means that you've got to do dozens of trainings, dozens of follow-ups, dozens of organic relationship building activities to actually get them to show up and produce. Guys, some of my favorite recruits over the years have been the most difficult to recruit. I look at Jarek Harris, who's one of our top rookies this year. Jarek is a personal recruit of mine, which I'm so elated over. And I probably met with Jarek 15 times before he agreed to actually come out and sell. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of energy. There's a guy named Tom Schultz that sold for us back in the day. Tom, I probably met with, I'm not exaggerating, 40 times over like a 14-month period about coming out and selling. And it took forever. but I continued to follow up. I didn't forget about Tom. I continued to, check in with him and build the relationship. And finally, we had the trust to where it tipped the scales. Tom came out and he crushed it. He did 250 accounts as a rookie and led a team for us for a few years. And it was an amazing and awesome friendship and journey, and awesome. And it all happened because of the follow-up. Okay. Guys from other companies, especially when you're recruiting from other companies, it often takes years. There's 15 different Instagram connections that I have that I DM any chance I get. I see a story, I'm swiping up on them. Half the time it's not about Aptiv. In fact, 90% of the time it's not about Aptiv. But I know in the back of my head, I'm building a relationship with this person. And if it turns into something amazing, and if it doesn't, that's okay, because the relationship is so rewarding in and of itself. You got to have kind of that go-giver mentality. Hopefully that's understood with how I'm communicating this, and you don't just think that every relationship in my life is monetary. It's all like authentic and genuine. You got to be a go-giver. You got to hope for the best for people, cheer their wins, even if it's not with you. Build a brand. Okay. I mentioned Jarek. Jarek came to Aptiv, came to me because I have built a brand, because I have built a reputation. And when people think about real estate and sales, I'm one of the guys they think about. And so Jarek had, if I remember right, a cousin or someone, I should ask him again, who said, you should talk to Yogi about sales because he's the best at it. And I think he'd be able to help you get into real estate and accomplish your. Sure enough, Jarek hit me up. I didn't know him at all at the start, but we built that relationship, and now we're here. He just closed on a fourplex. I came through on my part, but it never would have happened. And Jarek came through on his, certainly. It never would have happened had I not built a brand. Okay. I look at the Aiden Parents, the Mark Wilmores, the Andrew Myers. I look at all of you guys who are here and growing. And the sooner you can start building a brand, the better it will be, because it can take years. And if you post 3 times on social media about it and then you never do it again, maybe you'll get a recruit or 2 from it, but you're missing out on the point. The point is to do the same thing over and over again for years and years on end, and to have so much volume and so much effort that it would not be reasonable that you fail. That's what building a brand is. It's not glamorous. It's not sexy. You often feel like an absolute just idiot, but it pays massive dividends down the road. And so the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time is today. If you've done this job for 3 years and you've never attempted to build a brand, start now. Because even if you do something else, that is the currency of our generation. That is the currency of our lifestyle right now. And it is one of the best and most important things that we can possibly do. So build a brand. Now, a couple additional points on this same subject. Don't just build a brand around Aptiv. Okay, you look at some of the top influencers in our space, some of the people that I love the very most, the follows that I love the very most. And I love following them because I admire their family. I admire their passion for cars. I appreciate their faith and their discourse on faith. I admire their funny videos. I love their engaging food photos, whatever it is. Okay. There's all these different elements to it. And I'm interested in what they do. Okay. When people follow, I'll use myself for an example because I know myself well. I get people who follow me because they like cars. I get people who follow me because they like smoking meat. I get people that follow me because they're interested in bench press. I get people who follow me because they're interested in real estate. That's probably my number one. And then over time, those follows turn into recruits. Chase Flynn is a great example of this. Chase originally followed me because he saw me on a Stradman video and was interested in cars and saw that I think he saw that Ryan had bought a car from Strad, or I forget. But that was the connection. And then it's like, oh, what's this Aptiv thing? And, I post about it every week or 2 and every few days. And certainly at the start, post more as you're building up. Post as much as you want. But, oh, I'm kind of interested in that. Messages, boom, turns into a recruit. Build a brand. I have a quote written down here that speaks to me on the follow-up and the build a brand segment of this talk. And that's, you can't harvest apples from a tree that you never planted. So plant the tree now. It's going to take time. It might take, you'll get some recruits early on, but the real fruit comes years down the road. And even if it's not in this job, maybe go on and become a real estate agent or an insurance salesman or Maybe you go on to own your own business. Who knows? Maybe you become a consultant. Whatever you do, okay? The brand that you build now, the ability to follow up will pay you dividends forever. It's the greatest thing you can do. Okay. Couple really important. I'm over my time already. I'm at 37 minutes. I knew that was going to happen. Recruiting is about value creation. I hit on this early on. I'm going to hit on it again. We are not an MLM. Gone are the days where you could recruit one person who's a superstar and you could rest on your accolades and said, I did it, and cash in on a margin for the rest of history. Those days are gone. They don't exist. You get paid for the value that you add. You get paid for the work that you do. And so the way I see it, there's 3 tiers of what you should get paid on in the recruiting process. Tier number 1, the connection, okay, the amigo, get them in the door. Okay, whoever introduces the person is valuable. Whoever introduces the person is valuable. So that's one of the things that you get paid for. It's the easiest, it's also the hardest. I've seen people in this industry and others make $100,000 simply by making a connection. As crazy as that is, okay? Make a connection and it can pay you forever, which is the coolest thing ever. Now, a lot of the margin, and in fact, the lion's share of the margin, I would say, doesn't need to go to the connection. It needs to go to the second 2 steps, which is the trainer, the mentor, and the manager. Okay. Who is training this person? Who is helping them develop? Who do they look to as their mentor? Okay. Are they coming to you with recruiting questions? Are they coming to you with sales questions? Are they coming to you with life questions? Okay. I far too often see someone simply get a person in the door and then think that because they got that person in the door, all of a sudden they're their leader. But the person they got in the door is like, no, dude, that guy's a train wreck. I don't want to go to them for anything. I don't want to ask them to help me with the recruiting meeting. They're a train wreck. I outsold them by triple. Okay, you got to be careful with that. And you got to remember, part of this recruiting value creation, the recruiting payments, is because you're the mentor. And if you're not the mentor, that's okay. We're still always going to be fair. And the pay scale is set up in a way that it rewards you for having brought them in the door in an incredibly generous way. But the person who is the mentor, the trainer, deserves a chunk of that margin. Now, the third chunk is the manager, okay? The person who's establishing the business, the person who's building out kind of behind the scenes, the person who's putting it all together, taking the risk on, making it happen. And so your job as you develop as a leader, as you do this job for longer, as you become a better recruiter, is to occupy those 3 tiers as much as you possibly can. And so if this is your first year doing it, get them in the door, be the amigo. Make sure once you've got them in the door and you did the business and you got them closed, you're saying, hey, let's train. I want to help you. Hey, let me answer your questions. Have you had any questions lately? Hey, let me talk to you about what I just read in this book. Make sure that you are leveling up your life and becoming the best version of yourself so that they want to continue working with you. People want to work with someone who, in some way, they hope to emulate. Okay. People want to work with someone who they admire, they appreciate, they respect, and they want to become in some way. They don't want to work with someone who they have no interest in imitating or mimicking their life at all. So understand that there are kind of 3 separate channels to value, and you have to occupy all 3. If I recruit, I'm going to keep using Jarek because I used him as an example. If I recruit Jarek and then I never talk to him again, and I don't do anything for him for the rest of forever, do I deserve to make a margin there in the future? I mean, I got him in the door. So on the one hand, it's like, hey, Aptiv, Elite, his managers are profiting because I got him in the door. But I don't probably deserve to make as much in the other chunks because I didn't do my job. Okay, I wasn't a mentor. I didn't help manage. However, if I'm training Jarek, if I'm answering Jarek's questions, if I'm calling and checking in and supporting and boosting the morale and helping and, pushing Jarek, man, I'm doing other parts. Okay. You have to occupy as much as you can as the leader. I talk about extreme ownership. Okay. I'm always happy to do these meetings. I will do them till I'm blue in the face. It's 9 p.m. It's the second day of school. I'm at the office right now because I'm willing to work. I'm always willing to do the meetings. But guess what? If I do the meeting, I'm taking power, I'm taking control, and in some way, you're losing a little bit. The recruiters that I see who grow the most, and not just a flash in the pan, they signed 10 guys and man, it was awesome. But the ones who actually grow, who become a senior team leader, who become a divisional, who become a regional, who go beyond that, it's because they take extreme ownership over the process. And they're like, man, I could ask Garrett to do that meeting, or I could do it. I'm just as good as Garrett. In fact, I think I'm better. He's disconnected from reality. I'm better. I'm going to do it. And certainly there's some lessons to be learned along the way, and you lose some recruits that you thought you had and hard knocks. But just like with selling, you don't learn from shadowing. You learn by trying. You learn by doing. You learn by failing. You learn by growing through the pains. Okay, it's just like selling in that sense. And if you never stop shadowing and you never cut yourself free, then you won't have the chance to become, to grow, to learn, to develop to the level that you're capable of. Now, I'm not saying, recruiting is a very valuable process. I'm not saying when you get your A+ recruit that you just built this 100 names list and it's your very first one, I'm not saying you need to do it right up front. But I'm saying in time, look to take on more and more responsibility. Look to become more and more percentage of those 3 chunks that are paid value parts, not an MLM. Look to take over those 3 chunks as much as you possibly can. And the recruiters, the individuals who do that, grow the most, become the most, and they could go on and do anything. Okay. They could go work for a million different industries and a million different businesses and be paid incredibly well, because that is the most valuable skill set in the world. The ability to recruit, to manage, to mentor, to lead, most valuable skill set in the world. It's incredible. So look to take over as many parts of that as you possibly can. Now, I want to end with my philosophy. Okay. I have 2 ending points. One, I'm actually going to save the philosophy for last. The long game. Okay. I've hit on this some. The earlier you start, the bigger your tree grows. Recruiting is the ultimate time multiplier. If you're serious about winning, this long-term recruiting game is the best thing that you can do. And it's similar to sales. It's also different. I have some of the best people in the world, and recruiting can be frustrating for them because they're like, dude, I put in the time. What am I missing? It's not a perfect one-to-one. It's a game where repetition matters, time matters, skill matters. Your ability to do the hard things over and over and over again matters. At any given moment, the ball can drop and you can make $1 million or lose it all. It's frustrating in that way. Okay? But it's rewarding. So play the long game. Now, my philosophy to end. Okay? I'm going to share with you guys the innermost belief that I have with recruiting, and I hope this comes across as sincere as I intend it to. I've thought about this since my first year leading a team. I never wanted to be the guy who only looked out for my own self-interest, who recruited someone simply to make money. That was the most important thing to me. And I don't know why I'm so passionate about that, but perhaps one of my deepest, darkest, greatest fears is that people will think that I'm selfish, or people will think that I'm only in it for me. And I don't know why that's always been such a core part of who I am, but it's really important to me. And so very early on, I had those fears where I'm like, am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I actually trying to help these people? Am I actually trying to do right by these guys, by these girls? Am I doing what's best for them, or am I just looking out for me? And I mean, I wrestled with this thing for a long time. And the philosophy that I stumbled upon that has made all the difference on my journey, that has allowed me to do this job for 12 years and keep my sanity, and highs and lows and in-betweens. And again, I'm going to do more of these podcasts and talk more about it. But the thing that's allowed me to be successful is this philosophy. And the philosophy is this, okay? You as the recruiter, you as the manager, the mentor, the trainer, you're going to get paid. Your number one goal should not be to maximize your income. We love the income. We live for the income. This is a job. The income's awesome. But your number one goal should be to give this person more value than you take from this person. If you're going to make $5,000 off of this sales reps, you better dang well give them more than $5,000 worth of your time, attention, training, and effort. If you're going to make $20,000 off of this team, you better give this team more than $20,000 worth of energy and effort and the best of your ability. Help them, okay? And again, this means different things to different people. When I meet a rookie sales rep and I'm in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm going to make $1,000 from this rookie sales rep. I don't think about it that way, but if I did, that rookie, $1,000 means something else. I mean, that's them going out and getting 4 sales. Me, $1,000, I don't mean this to be braggadocious or douchey in any way. It's different, okay? I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars doing this job. It's different. And so you have to look at it through that filter and that lens as well and understand that. But you need to be able to look yourself in the eyes every single night and say, no, I did more than my part. I gave more than I took. I created more than I consumed. Create, don't consume. Remember, that's one of my life philosophies. Okay? Give more value through your effort, through your actions, through your training, your mentorship, than you take in override or margin. And if you can do that, it's the most beautiful job in the world. It's the best. I love it. Got some more thoughts I'll share in the future. I love this topic. I believe in this topic. Elite is a recruiting machine. We signed over 1,000 people last year. We are the best recruiters in the industry, and I believe that wholeheartedly. Dive in, go big, set up some meetings, build the 100 names list. Let's recruit an army because we believe in what we do. We want to share the opportunity. We're excited for the growth. Journey's going to be awesome. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this helps. Let's get it.